Hey, everybody, this is Joe Joseph, and this is the DailySheeple.com's News Shot. Now, in the Daily News Brief, I brought up the new Trump administration policies on the war on drugs. Of course, it's roaring back with a vengeance. Blah. But I bet you didn't know about a little-known program that the United States ran during Prohibition called the Federal Poisoning Program. Now, this just goes to show you where and at what ends the government will go to advance its sadistic policies. And it's sadistic. You know, how many people out there have to suffer needlessly because they say, oh, there's an epidemic out there, because people abuse drugs, right? So one bad egg spoils the dozen. You have people that go ahead and maybe take mommy's pills out of a medicine cabinet and go get high. Well, then other people that suffer and die slowly. And believe me, people in chronic pain, and everybody out there that's in chronic pain can attest to this. You die very slowly and very, very painfully, extremely painfully, to the point where, you know, a lot of people in chronic pain, it's a slow degradation to the point where then they become wheelchair bound. And then they die in their wheelchair. And it's just a agonizing, slow, painful death that makes Guantanamo Bay look like Club Med. It looks like it's a vacation getaway compared to the torture that a lot of these people suffer because the government, again, knows what's best for you. But they knew what's best for about 10,000 people in the 1920s with a little-told story of the U.S. government and how they poisoned alcohol during Prohibition to scare people into not drinking. So just think about this for a second. And let me give you a little piece here. It says it was Christmas 1926. The streets aglitter with snow and lights when the man afraid of Santa Claus stumbled into the emergency room at New York City's Bellevue Hospital. He was flush, gasping with fear. Santa Claus, he kept telling the nurses, was just behind him, wielding a baseball bat. Now, before the hospital staff, of course, realized how sick he was, the alcohol-induced hallucinations was just a symptom. Ultimately, the man died. So did another holiday party-goer, and another. As dusk fell on Christmas, the hospital staff tallied up more than 60 people made desperately ill by alcohol and 8 dead from it. Within the next 2 days, yet another 23 people died in the city from celebrating the season. Doctors were accustomed to alcohol poisoning by then, the routine of life in the Prohibition era. The bootlegged whiskey and so-called gins often made people sick. The liquor produced in hidden stills frequently came tainted with metals and other impurities. But this outbreak was bizarrely different because the deaths, as investigators would shortly realize, came courtesy of the U.S. government. Frustrated that people continue to consume so much alcohol even after it was banned, federal officials had decided to try a different kind of enforcement. They ordered the poisoning of industrial alcohols manufactured in the United States, products regularly stolen by bootleggers and resold as drinkable spirits. The idea was to scare people to give up illicit drinking. Instead, by the time Prohibition was repealed in 1933, more than 10,000 people had been killed as a result of this program. 10,000 people. Now, let me ask you this. You go ahead and poison somebody. What's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to you? You're going to be charged with murder. In some states, you're going to be given the death penalty. How do we hold our government to account when our government commits blatant crimes against humanity? And that's what that is. Let's be abundantly clear. Not just for poisoning people, but for robbing people of their quality of life and their ability to live in a reduced state of pain when safe and effective medicines are readily available but are restricted to people who are suffering. That, my friends, is a clear crime against humanity, and it's something that should not be tolerated, not here in the United States or anywhere else. They say, oh, there's an opioid epidemic going on. No, there's not, because you'd have to first, again, define what an epidemic is. And when you define the epidemic, or what an epidemic is, and then you look at the numbers, you clearly see there's no epidemic. There's no epidemic. The epidemic has to do with people illegally manufacturing stuff like for carfentanil, or taking like elephant tranquilizers and putting it on the streets and things like that. And, you know, a lot of that market has to do with the fact that they're making it illegal and harder to get legally. You know, what happens when somebody that's in excruciating pain, that's just doing everything they can just to maintain functionality, perhaps to raise their family or something like that, and they don't want to go through the Gestapo baloney that happens just to get a meager form of relief, and even then you probably don't even get it. You know what they do? You're forcing people to go to the streets, and then because the DEA knows this, they say, okay, well, we're going to crack down here, and we're going to make people do illegal things so we can then arrest them, and then that will again fuel our ability and justify our funding and our budgets for the following fiscal year. And it just feeds itself. It's self-perpetuating. And that's exactly what the war on drugs is designed to do. It perpetuates the state. And it criminalizes you. That's the entire purpose of it. Ask minorities in these communities, in these inner cities. They'll tell you the same thing. The governments who ship in the drugs. The police manufacture these things and trap people into purchasing them. And we tolerate this? You know? There's antidotes out there for overdose. Narcan. Why the hell wouldn't that be available to people? Why? Because they need the boogeyman to scare you and to control you. That's what it's all about. Control. I'm Joe Joseph. This was the DailySheeple.com's News Shot. And I'll have one again for you real soon. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.